In the heart of an expansive savanna, where the sun painted the sky with strokes of orange and red each evening, there thrived a village untouched by time. The villagers lived in harmony with the land, guided by the ancient tales passed down through generations. Among these was the tale of the covenant, a sacred bond between the land and its people, sealed by an ancestral spirit, Mwanzo. Nia, a young woman with a spirit as fierce as the lions roaming the plains, was deeply rooted in her village's traditions. Her husband, Jabari, a skilled hunter, revered the old ways just as deeply. Together, they lived a life of simple joys and profound respect for the nature around them. One fateful evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Jabari ventured into the deeper parts of the savannah. He sought the mighty antelope, which would provide not only sustenance, but also materials for clothing and tools. Armed with his spear and accompanied by the rhythmic beats of the distant drums, Jabari felt a primal connection to the land. However, the savannah was as unpredictable as it was beautiful. A sudden encounter with a fierce leopard left Jabari wounded, his leg marked by the beast's claws. As he limped back to the village, the sun's last light fading, he pondered the gravity of his injury. Nia, upon seeing Jabari's silhouette approach through the twilight, rushed to his side. Her heart sank at the sight of the wound. It was deep, and in the village's lore such wounds were feared, not just for the injury itself, but for the spiritual imbalance it signified. According to the tale of the covenant, a wound inflicted by the creatures of the land required not just physical healing, but spiritual. The afflicted must undergo a sacred ritual to restore harmony between him and the natural world. Failing to do so would not only endanger the wounded, but the entire village. The ritual was complex and deeply symbolic. The most startling aspect, however, was the requirement for the spouse of the injured to lick the wound until the spirit of Mwanzo deemed the covenant restored. This act, believed to transfer the vitality of the land into the wounded, was a profound demonstration of trust and unity. Nia, understanding the weight of the tradition, prepared herself mentally and spiritually. That night, under the watchful eyes of the village elders, she knelt beside Jabari. The fire crackled, casting long shadows as the elders chanted prayers in a low hum, invoking Mwanzo's spirit. With a deep breath, Nia began the ritual. Her tongue touched the wound and a sharp metallic taste filled her mouth. It was more than physical discomfort. It was a test of her resolve, her faith in the old ways, and her love for Jabari. As the ritual progressed, the villagers remained silent, the only sound being the crackling of the fire and the distant call of a nightjar. The air was thick with anticipation and fear that the covenant might not be satisfied, that the balance would not be restored. Nia continued, driven by a force she could only define as love intertwined with duty. Minutes turned into hours. Just as the moon reached its zenith, a gentle breeze swept across the village, rustling the leaves and whispering through the grass. The elders looked at one another, nodding solemnly. The breeze was a sign. Mwanzo was pleased. The covenant was restored. Nia, exhausted but relieved, collapsed beside Jabari, who now slept, his breath steady and deep. As dawn approached, casting a golden glow over the village, Nia and Jabari were regarded not just as survivors, but as embodiments of the village's deepest beliefs. They had reaffirmed the bond between their people and the ancestral spirits, a tale that would be told for generations to come. As the village awoke to a new day, Nia stood, her body weary but her spirit invigorated. She knew that this was just the beginning of their journey, a journey intertwined with the very essence of their world. In the embrace of dawn's first light, the village stirred to life, unaware of the events that had transpired under the cover of darkness. Nia, standing by Jabari's side, watched over him as he recovered, the marks of the leopard's claws still vivid against his skin, but now cleansed of any ominous threat. The villagers, though uninformed of the specifics, sensed a shift in the air, a fresh balance restored through unseen sacrifices. Later that morning, as Jabari awakened, his eyes met Nia's, and without words, their shared experience fortified their bond, an unspoken acknowledgement of the ordeal they had endured. Nia, her resolve unbroken, prepared for the day ahead, her actions weaving the fabric of normalcy back into their lives. The village elders, custodians of law and tradition, convened near the sacred baobab tree. They discussed the night's events with a gravity reserved for moments when the veil between the seen and unseen thins. Their dialogue, though shrouded in the mystique of ritual, focused on the implications of the night's success. As the sun climbed higher, casting long shadows over the thorn bushes, Nia joined the women at the river. Here the rhythms of daily life continued. Laundry slapped against stones, children splashed in the shallows, and stories flowed as freely as the river's waters. Yet within these stories, the women subtly wove in strands of last night's ritual, each recounting her own experiences or those of her ancestors, with Nia's ordeal serving as the latest thread in the village's rich tapestry. Amidst the chatter, one elder, Ajani, approached Nia. His presence commanded a respectful silence. "The spirits have watched over us, granting healing through your courage," he began, his voice a low rumble against the sounds of the river. "But remember, the land gives and the land takes. Your act has preserved this balance, but the spirit world remains ever watchful." Nia nodded, her understanding deep as the river before her. She knew the elder's words were not merely for her benefit, but a reminder to all that the covenant with Mwanzo was a continuous commitment, not merely a momentary bridge across troubled waters. As the day waned, the community gathered for the evening feast. The air was filled with the aroma of roasting meat and fresh herbs. Faces illuminated by the firelight, the villagers shared meals and tales, their laughter mingling with the crackle of the fire. Nia sat among them, her presence a testament to the enduring strength of their traditions. Jabari, now able to join the gathering, walked with a slight limp, each step a reminder of the peril he had faced and the price paid for peace. He found his place beside Nia, his hand finding hers, their touch a silent exchange of comfort and mutual respect. As night enveloped the village once more, the fire's glow waned and the stories ebbed, leaving behind a blanket of thoughtful contemplation. The stars overhead, ancient and unyielding, watched over them, their twinkling a silent chorus to the heartbeat of the village below. In this way, life in the village wove its rhythm around the constants of tradition and the whispers of the ancestral spirits. Each day was a thread in the fabric, each night a knot tied in the darkness, securing the stories of the past to the promise of the morning. Nia, her role in this tapestry undeniable, embraced her responsibilities, her spirit aligned with the enduring pulse of her world. As the new day broke, the village awoke to the harmonious calls of the weaver birds, weaving intricate nests that dangled like woven baskets from acacia trees. Nia began her morning by the hearth, the fire crackling as she stirred the porridge, a staple that warmed the belly and fortified the spirit for the day's tasks. Jabari, his strength returning, ventured to the edges of the village, where the wilderness met the remnants of human touch. He felt a renewed sense of duty to protect and preserve, his recent encounter with the leopard having deepened his connection to the savannah and its creatures. The elders, meanwhile, convened beneath the sprawling limbs of the baobab tree, its trunk wide and ancient, a silent witness to countless seasons and secrets. Here, they discussed the future, contemplating the signs and portents that nature offered. Their conversation, though shrouded in the wisdom of age, was punctuated with thoughtful pauses, each silence a space for reflection and respect for the voices of the past. Children, their laughter piercing the solemnity of the elders' council, played in the dust, their games mimicking the hunts and harvests of their parents. Their joyous shrieks and spirited chases were a balm to the older onlookers, a reminder of the cycle of life that continued unabated, no matter the trials faced. In the cool shade provided by the baobab, Nia found a quiet moment to converse with Ajani. "The land has healed," she observed, her eyes reflecting the vast expanse of the savannah. "But the memories of the night remain vivid, as if Mwanzo himself whispers them back to me." Ajani listened, his gaze deep and thoughtful. "Memories are the roots that connect us to the earth and to each other," he replied. "They are not just recollections, but lessons and legacies. You and Jabari have added your own to our collective memory, strengthening the bond not just between yourselves, but between all of us and the spirits." As the sun reached its zenith, the heat of the day brought life in the village to a languid pace. Women returned from the river, their water pots balanced gracefully atop their heads, their steps slow and deliberate to conserve their energy. Men repaired the thatches of their homes, their hands skillful and sure as they wove the reeds into tight protective barriers against the elements. In the fading light of late afternoon, Nia walked to the edge of the village, where the grass grew tall and the earth bore the tracks of many journeys. Here, she paused, her thoughts as expansive as the landscape stretching before her. The savannah whispered secrets carried by the wind, tales of survival and coexistence, of respect and reverence. That evening, as the villagers gathered once more around the fire, the air was thick with the scent of brewing tea, mingling with the smoky aroma of the fire. The elders shared stories of the spirits and the ancestors, their voices rising and falling like the rhythm of the drums that accompanied their tales. Nia, wrapped in the warmth of her community, felt the weight of her responsibilities as a keeper of traditions. Her actions had echoed through the village, reaffirming ancient pacts and promises. As the fire died down and the children's eyelids grew heavy, the night wrapped the village in a cloak of stars, the celestial bodies bearing witness to the enduring spirit of the people below. In this seamless flow of days and nights, the village sustained its rhythm, each moment a breath, each event a heartbeat, resonating with the timeless dance of life and legacy beneath the watchful skies. The breaking dawn brought a gentle breeze that whispered through the savannah, carrying scents of distant rains. The village woke to the rustle of leaves and the distant roar of a lion, its call a profound reminder of the untamed world just beyond the firelight's reach. On this morning, Nia felt a pull towards the deeper parts of the wilderness, a yearning to understand more of the land that had demanded so much from her. Jabari, noticing the contemplative look in Nia's eyes, prepared for their venture into the grasslands. His recovery had been swift, spurred by the healing ritual and his own resilient spirit. Together they walked, their steps synchronized with the natural cadence of the world around them. The grass swayed, parting gently as if in respect for their passage. As they ventured further, the animal calls grew more distinct. A pair of zebras galloped past, their stripes a blur against the backdrop of green and gold. Jabari pointed out tracks on the soft earth, some fresh, some older, each a story of survival written upon the land. In a clearing, under the watchful gaze of an ancient acacia tree, they paused. Nia touched the bark, feeling its rough texture, the tree standing as a testament to endurance and age. "The elders speak of trees as the keepers of wisdom," she murmured. "If only we could decipher all they have witnessed." Jabari nodded, his eyes scanning the horizon. "They are not just witnesses, but participants in the saga of this land. Each leaf, each branch holds a part of our history, our connection to Mwanzo, and the spirits who guide us." The conversation drifted as they resumed walking, each lost in their thoughts, until a sudden rustling diverted their attention. A small bushbuck, startled by their presence, bounded away, its movement a fleeting shadow against the sunlight. This encounter, brief and heart-racing, was yet another layer of their connection with the savannah, a place of beauty and sudden perils. Returning to the village as the sun began its descent, they were met by the younger children, eager to hear of their adventures. Nia shared tales of the zebra and the bushbuck, her story a weave of reality and the embellished touches that turned simple events into legends. The children listened, wide-eyed, their imaginations kindling with visions of the vast world beyond their homes. That night, around the communal fire, elders and youngsters alike shared in the storytelling. Ajani recounted tales of the great spirits, his voice a deep echo that resonated in the cool night air. Nia's story found its place among these narratives, her experiences blending into the collective memory of the community. As the fire dwindled to embers, the village fell into a comfortable silence, the stars overhead a brilliant tapestry against the dark velvet sky. Nia lay beside Jabari, their hands intertwined, both feeling an immense gratitude for the life they shared, for the traditions that bound them, and for the natural world that provided them with stories, sustenance, and spirit. In the cyclical ebb and flow of village life, each day brought new lessons and reaffirmed old truths. The stories told by the firelight, the encounters in the wild, and the guidance of the elders all wove a vibrant tapestry that covered the community, shielding it with the strength of ancestry and the wisdom of the land. As the night deepened, the whispers of the savannah seemed to promise more tales, each waiting for its turn to be told under the baobab tree. With the new dawn, the village stirred under a veil of mist that rose from the warm earth, cooled by the night's embrace. The air was thick with the scent of damp foliage, a perfume that heralded the start of a new day in the savannah. As the sun climbed, burning away the morning haze, life in the village resumed its rhythm. Nia, with a basket slung over her arm, joined the other women at the edge of the village, where the land was generous with herbs and fruits. Today, They were gathering medicinal leaves, a task that required knowledge passed down from mother to daughter, a lineage of healing wisdom. As they walked through the brush, Anaya, an elder whose hair shone silver under the sun, led the group. Her steps were sure, her eyes sharp. "Notice the shape of the leaves and the color of the berries," she instructed, pointing to a bush with vibrant green foliage. "These are good for fevers, but beware the similar bush with darker leaves. Its berries bring only sleep from which one may not wake." The women listened, their hands skillful as they picked the correct plants. Nia, her basket half full, paused to watch a butterfly settle on a bloom. Its wings were a tapestry of colors, mirroring the myriad hues of the savanna. She was reminded of the interconnectedness of all life, how each creature played a role in the larger story of the ecosystem. Back in the village, Jabari and the other men repaired a section of the fence that encircled their homes, a barrier against the wild creatures that roamed the night. The task was communal, the rhythm of hammers a drumbeat that spoke of protection and perseverance. Later, as the sun began its descent, the village gathered at the central square. Today was special. It was the day of remembrance, a time to honor the ancestors and seek their guidance through tales and offerings. The fire was lit, its flames leaping towards the sky as if to touch the spirits themselves. One by one, the elders spoke, each sharing a story of the ancestors, their trials and their triumphs. Nia, wrapped in a shawl embroidered with the symbols of her lineage, listened intently, her heart swelling with pride and a profound sense of belonging. As the night grew deep, it was Nia's turn to speak. She stepped forward, the firelight casting dancing shadows over her features. "Tonight I share not just my story, but that of Jabari and mine together," she began, her voice steady and clear. "It is a tale of survival, of the land's challenges and the spirit's tests." She recounted the night of the leopard's attack, the fear, the uncertainty, and the ritual that bound her and Jabari to the land and its ancient covenant. The villagers listened, their faces a mixture of awe and reverence. In her tale, they saw their own lives mirrored, their own struggles, and their connection to the spirit world. As the fire died to glowing coals, the elders placed offerings of food and drink at the base of the baobab tree, their acts a silent prayer for protection, wisdom, and the favor of the ancestors. The stars twinkled above, each one a distant watcher, a guardian of the night. The ceremony concluded, the people of the village returned to their homes, the echo of the stories lingering in their minds like the sweet remnants of a dream. Nia and Jabari, hand in hand, walked back to their hut, their steps light, their hearts full. In the quiet of their home, they reflected on the evening, on the power of stories to bind, to teach, and to preserve. Around them, the village slept, the land rested, and the cycle of life continued, each moment a thread in the vibrant fabric of their existence, woven tightly by the hands of those who had gone before and those who would follow. As the pre-dawn chill wrapped the savanna, a quiet murmur ran through the village, stirring the inhabitants from their slumber earlier than usual. A subtle yet distinct vibration was felt beneath the earth, a tremor that whispered of changes not seen, but deeply felt. This morning the village did not wake to the customary serenade of birds, but to a thoughtful silence, as if nature itself paused in anticipation. Nia stepped out of her hut, her senses heightened. The air held a crispness that hinted at rain, though no clouds marred the clear sky. She glanced toward Jabari, who joined her side, his expression mirroring her concern. Together, they walked toward the center of the village, where the elders had already gathered, forming a semicircle around the smoldering remains of last night's fire. The oldest among them, Mzee Hamisi, his face lined with the wisdom of years, raised his hand for silence. "The earth speaks," he said, his voice carrying a gravity that drew all eyes to him. "And we must listen. This tremor is not just a shake of the ground, it is a message." The villagers, drawn by the elder's voice, clustered around, their morning routines forgotten. Children clung to their mothers' skirts, sensing the unusual seriousness of the gathering. "We have lived through many seasons, seen the patterns of life and spirit weave through our days," Mzee Hamisi continued. "When the earth trembles, it is a reminder. We are not its masters, but its children. We must respect its call, understand its signs." A young man stepped forward, his brow furrowed. "What does the earth ask of us, Mzee?" he inquired, his voice steady but filled with the unease that flickered in the eyes of his fellows. "It asks us to remember," the elder replied, "to honor our pact with Mwanzo, to live not just on this land but with it. Perhaps we have forgotten some old ways, taken more than we have given. Nia listened, her heart resonant with the truth in Mzi Hamisi's words. The rituals, the stories, the daily respects paid to the spirits in the land, had they dwindled in the face of daily struggles and modern distractions? The gathering disbanded with much for each to ponder, and as they did, Nia approached the elder. "What can we do, Mzi? How do we restore what has been lost?" Mzi Hamisi looked at her, a slow smile spreading across his face. "You have already begun, Nia, by honoring the rituals, by living the stories, by teaching the children. Continue on this path. Gather the community, reinstate the old celebrations, the forgotten customs. Let the land see we remember and cherish its gifts." Inspired, Nia and Jabari spent the day visiting each household, sharing their thoughts and urging their neighbors to join in reviving the old ways. The response was a heartening affirmation of unity. The villagers recognized the need to reconnect with their roots and the wisdom of the earth. As the sun set, casting long shadows over the savannah, preparations began. Men repaired the communal huts and cleared the central square for gatherings. Women wove fresh mats and prepared food from recipes handed down through generations. Children, their earlier fears allayed by the bustle of activity, helped gather wood for the fire. That evening, under a sky gradually jewelling with stars, the village came alive with the sounds of drums and the aroma of cooking fires. Stories were shared not just about the spirits and the ancestors, but about the land itself, about its bounty and its fragility. As the night deepened, Nia stood beside Jabari, watching the flames dance, their light reflecting in the eyes of their community. This revival was more than a response to a tremor. It was a reaffirmation of their existence, a promise renewed to live in harmony with the world that sustained them. The earth had spoken, and they had listened, their actions a melody harmonized with the ancient song of the land. Under the crescent moon's watchful eye, the village resonated with a renewal of spirit, as each member, young and old, contributed to the resurgence of forgotten traditions. The vibrancy of the gathering filled the air, a palpable energy that seemed to pulse with the heartbeat of the earth itself. As dawn approached, painting the sky with hues of amber and rose, the echoes of drums slowly faded, leaving behind a tranquil silence. This quiet was not emptiness but fullness, a collective breath held in reverence of what had been shared and learned. The villagers, their faces lit by the first light, looked around at each other, seeing not just neighbors but reflections of themselves and their ancestors. Nia, her energy undiminished by the night's activities, walked among the remnants of the celebration. Her steps took her to the edge of the village, where the land stretched out like a vast canvas. Here she paused, feeling the soft hum of the earth beneath her feet, a subtle reminder of the tremor that had called them to action. Jabari joined her, his presence a comforting constant. "The land feels different today," he remarked, his gaze sweeping over the savannah that was slowly stirring to life. "It does," Nia agreed, her voice a whisper carried away by the morning breeze. "It feels as if we've awakened something ancient, something that was waiting to be remembered." Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Mzi Hamisi, his approach marked by the deliberate tap of his staff against the earth. "You have done well, Nia Jabari," he said, his eyes twinkling with a mix of pride and something deeper, perhaps gratitude. "Last night we did more than revive old customs. We bridged the gap between past and present, ensuring our future." The elders and other villagers gradually gathered, drawn by the trio's discussion. Together, they looked out over the lands that had nurtured their ancestors, lands that had just borne witness to their commitment to uphold the heritage and balance of their world. Mzi Hamisi raised his hands, drawing the group's attention. "Let this be more than a single night's effort. Let it be the foundation of continued reverence for our customs and for the earth. We must not forget again." Nods of agreement rippled through the group, each person touched by the elders' words. Plans began to form, ideas on how to integrate the lessons of the past more fully into daily life. The children, inspired by the stories and the music, suggested more frequent gatherings, eager to learn and to participate. As the sun climbed higher, casting its warmth over the village, the community worked together to clean up the remnants of the celebration. The sounds of laughter and conversation filled the air, weaving a tapestry of community and shared purpose. In the cool shade of the afternoon, Nia led a group of children to the river, teaching them how to recognize the plants that Anaya had shown her. Each leaf and berry was a syllable in the long story of their people, a story that would not be forgotten as long as it was taught. By the river's edge, Jabari and some of the other men crafted new tools from the wood of fallen branches, each stroke of their carving a reaffirmation of their commitment to live sustainably, to take only what was needed, and to give back to the land. As the day faded into evening and the sky painted itself in the brilliant colors of sunset, the village once again gathered around the fire. This time the stories told were fresher, filled with the events of the day, interlaced with the ancient wisdom of their ancestors. Each tale, each song, each dance was a thread in the ever-growing fabric of their community, each a step in the perpetual dance with the land and its ancient rhythms. Under the stars, Naya and Jabari sat side by side, their hearts full of hope and determination. The path forward was clear, marked not by the signs of the earth alone, but by the collective will of the people to honor and preserve the harmony of their world. As the stars took their post in the clear night sky, the village found itself wrapped in a tranquil blanket of celestial light. The evening was serene, reflecting a sense of accomplishment and newfound unity within the community. The fire at the center of the village crackled merrily, its flames dancing to the quiet rhythms of the nocturnal choir, a symphony of crickets and distant howls. Around the fire, the villagers sat in a wide circle, their faces illuminated by the gentle light, expressions of contentment and thoughtfulness etched across their features. Nia, seated beside Jabari, looked around at the gathered faces, each one a testament to the strength and resilience of their culture and traditions. Mzee Hamisi stood, his figure casting a long shadow over the flickering flames. The elder's voice rose, rich and clear, carrying across the circle. "Tonight, we conclude not just an event, but we mark a beginning," he announced. "The tremor we felt was not merely of the earth, but of our spirit seeking alignment with the ancient covenant our ancestors made with Mwanzo." The firelight flickered over his aged features as he continued. "We have rekindled our commitment to our ways, to the spirits and to each other. Let this fire symbolize our renewed promise, a promise to guard, to cherish, and to celebrate the wisdom that has been entrusted to us." A respectful silence followed his words. Each person seemed to inwardly digest the weight of the elder's message, feeling its significance reverberate through their very bones. It was a silence of acceptance, of mutual agreement that resonated deeply within each heart. Then, one by one, villagers began to speak. They shared their reflections on the past days, expressing gratitude and newfound insights. Young and old voiced their intentions to uphold the teachings and practices that had been reaffirmed. It was a tapestry of voices, each thread vibrant with hope and determination. Nia, feeling a surge of pride and responsibility, finally stood to address the gathering. "This fire, these stories, our dances and our songs," she said, gesturing to the flames, "are the expressions of our living tradition. Each of us bears the duty to carry this forward, to ensure that our children and their children inherit not just tales, but a living, breathing culture." Jabari joined her, adding, "Our land speaks, and we have shown that we are its attentive children. We will continue to listen, to learn, and to teach. This is our life's work, and it is a work of joy and of profound respect." The gathering concluded with a song, a traditional melody that spoke of unity and the cyclical nature of life. The voices of the village rose in harmony, soaring into the night, blending with the whispers of the earth and the sighs of the wind. As the fire died down to embers, the villagers slowly dispersed, each returning to their huts under the watchful gaze of the stars. Nia and Jabari walked back to their home, their hands clasped tightly, a silent affirmation of their shared purpose. In their hut, the couple lay down for the night, their bodies tired but spirits invigorated. Outside, the savannah slept, the occasional rustle of grass or distant roar serving as a gentle reminder of the wildness that surrounded them, a wildness they respected and protected. Thus, under the vast African sky, the village slept, secure in the knowledge that they had restored the balance once shaken. They had answered the call of the earth, renewing their ancient covenant. As the night deepened, the land itself seemed to acknowledge their pledge, enveloping them in a peace that only true harmony with nature could afford. The cycle of traditions would continue, each generation weaving new threads into the old, preserving the vibrant legacy of their ancestors under the endless African sky.